Welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in to hear my trading and market updates. This is Uncle Frank, and I'm not a financial advisor, nor is any of the content to be construed as financial advice. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. Please remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed the presentation, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you're alerted when I have new information to share. So now let's get into the latest updates. Hey, welcome back everyone. My comment section is blowing up with questions. What's going to happen if this deal goes through? What's going to happen if it doesn't go through? Are we going into bankruptcy, etc.? And you know what? You have to be able to look at all the data, look at all the information available, and have the balls to make a call. You got to step up to the plate and make a call sometimes. So here's one of the comments from my comment section. If you guys hate AMC management so much, why are you still invested? To the no voters, what is your catalyst for a short squeeze before the CIE runs out of cash and goes bankrupt or has to massively dilute APE for pennies to survive another quarter? If your answer is the APE dilution, who do you think will buy that up? Yep, the shorters. And then they will push for the conversion and reverse split and cover their shorts. Anyways, looking forward to hear your catalyst for a squeeze. Before I start my reply, I have to remind you, I will never tell you to buy, sell, or hold any security or cryptocurrency. I am not an investment advisor or a lawyer. This is not investment advice. This channel is merely for entertainment purposes only, just to share my opinion. So I replied, any intelligent investor would hate people that are bleeding out their company. It's obvious. You just refuse to acknowledge it. Now, I should add some context. I don't like Mark Cohodes, but I can agree with people I don't like on occasion. Here's a direct quote. Adam Aron, the AMC executives, and the board of directors ran an enrichment scheme at the expense of individual investors who actually saved the company. I believe that that is a true statement. Now, I continue. AMC lost, it's actually $4.6 billion in 2020. I made a typo, 2.5. But anyway, we lost $4.6 billion in 2020, but Adam doubled his comp that year. And senior execs and board members got similar comp plans. I have said many times, the catalyst will be a black or white swan that will adversely affect the predatory short hedge funds. That's right. I don't believe there's going to be a squeeze or a MOAS without a black or white swan. Also, I didn't invest in AMC management. I invested in AMC. I can criticize, sue, even replace them with enough shareholder support. The hedgies are not, quote, afraid of conversion, mass dilution, reverse split, or even a QSIP change. They are prepared for it. It has been telegraphed. They are counting on it now. They will use their massive influence to cheat, just like they did with Sundial, Mullen, GME, and a bunch of others, and the DTCC and the LULD committee will help them do it. All this with tacit approval from FINRA and even the SEC. That's right, just like they did when they took away the buy button at Robinhood. I don't think that's even possible without some guidance from FINRA, DTCC, and SEC. And that's my opinion. I continued. This plan was actually designed by Citi. I mean, guys, though that's our investment banker, Adam Aron, Citi, this is their baby. They're also one of our current short sellers. It came out in court. It's not my opinion. It's fact. And don't refer to me as you guys. I have my own well-developed opinion and strategy. If you owned a business that was worth $1 million but was $5 million in debt, you would never pay yourself outrageous cash and stock bonuses. You would slash them to help the business survive. Cinemark is up 11%, but AMC is down 47%. APE is even worse, but, quote, you guys are mad at the people exposing management and fighting for you. Dumbest shit I've ever seen. And I finished by saying this. If this company is running out of money, it's because they're taking every penny they can out of the business. They sold over $1 billion in stock and increased cash bonuses even during the pandemic. A normal CEO would have already installed a realistic debt reduction plan in conjunction with creditors and tied acceleration payments to top-line revenue. He would also dilute from time to time, as I believe he promised, to support the plan. Okay? I mean, guys, we are the only company that is given the choice bankruptcy or dilute to the eyeballs. There's no other way to do this. I'm sorry. That's simply not true. So let's address the bankruptcy question first. I encourage all of you to go to Macro Axis and do the research yourself. Or you could stick with Seeking Alpha. Now all of a sudden, all you yes guys believe Seeking Alpha? January 23rd, AMC Entertainment stock unlikely to survive 2023, right? It's certainly possible that AMC will face bankruptcy, financial restructuring, right? Okay. Now, if you go to Macro Access, you can type in AMC Entertainment. They'll give you a couple free, and you'll see, based on their valuation analysis, that the current probability of bankruptcy for AMC is less than 40%. Now, you could compare that to Highcroft. Their probability of bankruptcy is over 85%. That's another great deal Adam got us into. Remember, there's gold in them thar hills. What did we invest? $29 million in that company? Well, we're going to get to that later, but I just want you to do your own research. Now, when Adam Aron was pitching the ape to us, the pounce, I remember the words time to time coming up a lot. I was under the impression this man was going to sell periodically, part of a debt reduction plan, and you're going to sell every once in a while when conditions are favorable. And I'll read this to you, okay? Holders of the preferred stock will initially be entitled to 100 votes per share and will vote together with the holders of common stock. I can't believe I fell for this. We may offer and sell from time to time in one or more offerings shares of our Class A common stock par value. Preferred stock, subscription rights, deposit shares, at prices and on terms determined at the time of the offering. I got the impression that it was going to be, meted out. I didn't know we were going to do just this gigantic dilution. Guys, by the way, we don't have to pay off all the debt. We could have a target of a healthy debt to equity ratio. Okay, we could set up a payment plan that is connected to our top line revenue, and we could coordinate that with our lenders, continue to settle the unpaid rents, things like that. It doesn't have to be either bankruptcy or we dilute to the eyeballs. There are other ways to do it, and there are people in Wall Street that know that. Now, I want to briefly discuss 2020. This chart's from the New York Times. Weekly deaths above and below normal in the U.S. since 2015. You see that giant spike on the right that started in early 2020 and started to taper off in 2021? Yeah, that's COVID-19. That's the pandemic. Okay, what did we get? 20 movies that year? We were getting murdered in 2020. Theaters closing, people in masks, people dying. Okay, just to give you some context, that's what was going on in 2020. And let's give you a little more context from Variety. AMC Entertainment reported a loss of $4.6 billion in 2020, a shocking illustration of the toll that the coronavirus pandemic took on the world's largest theater chain. So in 2019, Adam Aron's base pay was $1,250,000. His bonus, non-stock, this is cash, $1,925,000, right? And then we gave him just under $6.5 million in stock. Okay? In 2020, his base pay was $1,000,001, but his non-stock cash bonus ballooned to $5 million. Then he gave himself, instead of $6.5 million in stock, 14.7, almost 14.8 million in stock. You see, 2020 was an awful year for AMC. It was an amazing year over at the Aron household. But Uncle Frank, aren't we in all this debt trouble because of the pandemic? Well, yeah, the unpaid rents and all the borrowing we had to do and the expenses connected to the pandemic, sure. But I've got news for you Adam Aron fanboys. He joined the company in late 2015, like December of 2015. I think he actually started work January of 2016. I want you to know that by the end of that first year, Our debt ballooned from $2 billion to $4.36 billion. This guy ran up our debt way before the pandemic ever happened. So, Uncle Frank, is it still going on? Well, I can't answer that. You know why? Salary.com hasn't posted compensation packages for 2022 yet. Okay, I can go and dig them out all individually. I don't have the time. But here's a headline from January of this year. Adam Aron backs cash raises as Regal closes theaters. My guess is, yeah, he's still doing it. Now, Uncle Frank, you said this whole scheme was designed by Citi and other Wall Street players like Philip Lader of Morgan Stanley, that he even helped price the conversion. Well, I got that from this document. I'll read it to you verbatim. Mr. Aron indicated it has been the company's tradition to delegate final terms of equity transactions to a pricing committee composed of Mr. Aron, Ms. Paulus, and Mr. Whitlinger. Mr. Aron proposed adding Mr. Lader to the committee in case Mr. Whitlinger needs to recuse himself from decisions on any transactions. The board voted to appoint Mr. Lader to the pricing committee for these purposes. Mr. Lader abstained from that vote. But I got more for you. So who do I hold responsible? Well, Adam Aron, AMC senior executives, our board, our investment banker, Citi, Morgan Stanley. I hold them all responsible. Why? Okay. Well, obviously Adam Aron's going to be on that list, but Philip Lader, well, he's a senior advisor to Morgan Stanley Institutional Trading. He's also the leader of our board of directors, and he's even helped pricing. He's on the committee. Okay, guys, you know, you can't make this stuff up. If you look at the consolidated statements for Morgan Stanley as of the end of last year, their securities sold yet not purchased are about $123 billion. So if you really think AMC management is going to do anything to hurt the interests of Wall Street, you're out of your mind. I also would hold the CFO responsible, Sean Goodman. Where did he begin his career? In corporate finance and mergers and acquisitions with Morgan Stanley. I would only add that over the past 5 years, your CFO, he hasn't bought a single share of AMC, but he did manage to sell $17.7 million worth of the stock. Okay, yeah, these guys definitely have your best interest in mind. Now, before I wrap, I want to revisit this Highcroft thing. Let's examine some of the decisions Adam Aron has made along the way to see if they're in our best interest as shareholders. As you know, in March of last year, our company invested about $28 million in a gold and silver mine. Now, before you call me a shill, full disclosure, I've been a shareholder of HYMC, and there is the latest addition to my collection, a silver round featuring Adam and Diane. But my first question would be, how many years' experience does Adam and his team have in the mining of precious metals? We entered this transaction at about, what, $1.19, right? And it's currently worth about 31 cents. I don't know what it was last year when we did this deal, but according to Macro Access, the probability of Highcroft going bankrupt stands at over 85%. All this while the price of gold got as high as $20.43 an ounce in 2022. I haven't done the math, and I don't know all the particulars of the unit deal Adam made, but I think we're down about $20 million on this deal so far, and all we got out of it was an NFT. Now, guys, I will admit it to you. I was excited when AMC bought into Highcroft. I thought it might be a good hedge for the company. I wanted to see them diversify their business model. I still own the NFT, guys, okay? However, I'm starting to question the wisdom of this decision and all the tweets. You know, there's gold in them thar hills. And I'll tell you why. If you read the prospectus of when we made this investment, you're going to see the same 5 names coming up again and again and again. For example, under the title 1.5 lien note holders, which means certain investment funds affiliated with Mudrick Capital, Whitebox, Highbridge, Arestia, and Wolverine. Okay, guys, a lot of people will say, hey, Frank, I mean, these are all either current or past short sellers of AMC. Now, people will push back and say, Frank, Mudrig owned the piece of the company, and they hedged it, with a put position. Yeah, except what they're not telling you is when they sold their stock, they left that short position on. Whitebox is a former short seller of AMC. Highbridge, that's wholly owned by JP Morgan. They are currently short AMC. Aristia is a former short seller. Wolverine is a current short seller. Now, guys, I expect to see Susquehanna, Bank of America, Citigroup, I expect to see them in our current list of short sellers. What I don't like seeing is Antara Capital being on there, Highbridge, Wolverine. Look, all I'm telling you is these are terrible optics, okay? I don't understand why a movie company made such a vertical investment like this at this point in a company that's troubled when we are struggling with our own debt problems. I have, a lot. I really hope the Highcroft thing works out. But guys, we have this unusual habit of doing business with our enemies, and I don't like it. I want to personally thank everyone that stayed to the end of the presentation, yes or no voters. For those of you that want to call me a shill, go ahead. And for the morons that refuse to debate the facts but instead say, if you hate management so much, why don't you sell the stock? Well, for one, I don't take advice from morons. I do my own research and I make my own calls. I don't blame other people for my mistakes. I know that I was the one that clicked the mouse button to buy the stock, and I'll decide when I want to sell. Speaking only for myself, I love the company and the stock's chances. I know the shorts haven't covered yet, and I believe there's a good chance of a black or white swan spoiling their plans for my company. I also think it's obvious the CEO, management, and the board are bleeding the company dry, and many of you are too stubborn to admit it. Furthermore, there's no way I'm selling a stock with a near 1,000% cost to borrow in front of a court decision like this. I would only add to that with 3.8 million shareholders with an average of like 265 shares, that's over 1 billion shares. When they say own the float, we may own this float 2-3 times over for all I know. No, I'm not selling. Yes, I blame the regulators for not doing their jobs, but I've also accepted the fact that no one is coming to save us or help us. And yes, I can hate management and their decisions and still love the company. I'm not a coward. When I think people are stealing from me, I will call them out and fight them with everything I've got. If I'm a shill, would someone like to explain to my wife that collection of popcorn buckets over the fireplace in my living room? And that's just what you can see. I've been supporting the merchandise website before you knew there was one. I'm an A-lister, a member of Investor Connect. I carry our branded credit card in my wallet, and I own the domain names AMC Theaters Investor Connect and AMC Investor Connect. I've collected every damn NFT they've ever made available. I have OG shares from way back and my OG Ape dividend too. So here's my call. I have no idea what Judge Zern is going to do. But I do know I will never lay down to these people unless I'm forced to sell to pay my bills. I do have one parting prediction for you. I believe Adam Aron will spend the rest of his natural life in a courtroom. And when discovery is finally made public, you will see him for what he really is and what he's really done. So if there's any hedgies listening or monitoring the chat, I want you to know I'm not leaving this battlefield unless it's on my shield. Suck it, hedgies. And here's a parting comment. While I admit I have no privileged information about the upcoming court decision to share with you, I do know this. Smart money will know before we will, and you will see obvious price action confirming that. So I will be watching closely, and I hope you do too. Hey, I want to thank you for watching, and please remember to hit the like button after this slide if you enjoyed the presentation. Subscribe to the channel and set the alert so you're notified when I have new information to share. See you at the bell.